Alright, welcome back to the continuation of the video. Alright, so now that we've seen the bigger picture of how the key up works, how the unchange work, and how the block works. So since what we're searching is of course here right on the front end, so we have the data locally and all of that, so there's no performance issue. What gives us the most view, or the most interactive view, would be the key up. So I'm going to change it back to key up, so that we can have a feel of so let me change this back to key up. You can also use on key down, but that is when key is pressed down. Okay, so nothing has changed, just everything that we've got here, Caleb. Now, but the problem that we've got now is if someone searches by the last name, so I expect, because Caleb name contains Olu and only this person is, because we're only searching the first name. So let's search everything possible, maybe even their email, if their email is there, and all of that. So let's search through the first name and last name as well. So all we need to do is just basically come back here and include we're only searching first name, so we include the last name in what we are searching. So we have said that if this is this, so, and to do that we just basically have this we have it like this. So that's the first part of the search, or we'll continue the second search, or if there are more like that. So in this case we just need this guy here, so this is the last name, something like that. Now, so last name is part of the search. All right, so if I need to include other things, I'll just use or like that. So if you have a look now, since we have changed it to key up, we should have, so now when I use OL, before it was just this guy showing up. So when I use OLU still, so but when I OLUB, it's only this guy that has that. So that works like that. And to even have it more interactive, let's say we had more users like that. So when you start typing OB, only this guy has it, and something like that. So this searches the first and the last name. Pretty straightforward. Now moving on, what we want to do is to make it a bit okay. I think this search form deserves at least a placeholder. So so search user with their first or last names, right? Something like that. Okay, now let's say we increase this object to include their group. So let's say this person belongs in, or something that's another property. So let's say this person is in group 1. This group can be a string or number, however you want it. Group, let's say this person is in group 2. So let's say this person is also in group 2. New users list, let's say this person is in group 3. Let's say this person is also in group 3. Just to have duplicates, I intentionally want to have that. and then let's say this person is in group 1. Okay, now we'll add another property to it. So now what we want to do is to be able to filter by their group. So we can do that by just filtering blindly. But what we want to do, what I want us to do is to create a drop down that will contain a dynamic group. This is just in case we have more, you know, as we would see, because by default when you have it, when you load the DOM, we are only seeing 3 users. So, and that should only contain the groups that we're having. We don't want to have groups that is not present, you know, on the DOM. Okay, so we have the group here, so we want to dynamically extract it from here rather than manually typing it. So what I'm saying is this: let's say beside this this search, or just below it, such that, so let's say below it we have a select. All right, and then what we want to do is to have options like that. Option, let's say group 1, filter by group, and then let's say we have group 1, group 1, value 1, something like this. So we can do this not in spell as elementary, like not getting it dynamically, just statically, you know, hard coding the group in there. But since we are learning, I want us to get it dynamically, populate that, and that's not given to us separate, right? It's not given to us separate, so we want to use what we have to get this out. So this eventual thing that we want to get, something like this. So when we click on group 1, those in group 1 show up. When we click on group 2, those in group 2 show up. When we click on group 3, those in group 3 show up. Something like that is what we are trying to what we'll try to achieve, right? But then we don't want to do it this hard-coded way. Simple, basic, straightforward. But we don't want that. We want to, just like in this case where we add a select box. Where is that? We had a select box here. Here, just like here where we had this select box right here. Okay, where we are, you know, dynamically inserting the users in there. So the same thing we want to do with these as well. So let's go ahead and give this guy say ID equals to user group. So our first assignment will be to extract the groups from this, just the groups alone. That's the first. Second is then to make it a unique group, like that. So we want to extract it from the users list, right? So let me write a function to do that. Extract group. Okay, so if we have that, it's very simple, all right. So let's the various groups be equals to the users that we've got, right? Dots, and then we map it and then extract just this thing from it. So we extract users from it, user, such that, or even if I have this, such that we're just returning Map, we use map to transform, change the nature of what we've got in there. So here we just return only the user.group. All right, so this will return only their group name. So we have changed that array. We extracted a new array from that array containing only their groups. Okay, so let's see what we've got. If we alert, for instance, now json.stringify, or stringify, so you can see, since it's an object, so we can see the signature of it. This, we will realize that all things being equal, the group must have been extracted. So we're just testing this out for now. So let's say after rendering the user, rendering the distance, we equally now we put extract user up here. So what you see here is, you see 1, 2, 2. That is the various groups, at least for the initial user, 1, 2, 2. All right, but that is not right. We can have two twice in the drop down. It won't be correct. So what we want to do is to make it unique. We want to, so that it just extract only 1 and 2. Any repetition should not feature. So our next job will be to make these groups unique, and that's the one that would be putting into the drop down. All right, so let me say, let's unique groups be equals to groups. Okay, so it's just to, so you have a number of ways of handling this one I'm about to do. You can create an empty array, check if an element is already in this array. If it is there, you don't put it there again subsequently. Or you can use reduce, you can use your for loop, you can use for each, you can use filter. I'm about to use filter, which I find very succinct. So we have used filter in the other video, so it is another application of it. So we are filtering each element within the array, and then if it is already there, we just return the index. So we have group filter. Okay, so we told ourselves that the filter has essentially 3 elements in it. The group itself, this is the predicate for it. It has each element of the array, and of course the index, and of course the array itself. Okay, so here, so let's use this group as each element in the array, and the second is the index of that element within the array, and the array itself, which is the groups in this instance. Okay, so I'm using this naming so that this name convention goes with what we are working with, right? The first element represents each element within the array, and the second one represents the index of that element within the array, and this one. So if you do not specify it, second and third, they are optional. The one that you specify represents the element within the array, and you see how we have used it. Like in this case, where we use only one, it just means the element within the array. So the moment we put the second one, we are talking about the index of that element within the array. And the third one comes in, we are talking about the array that we are working with itself. So what we're just going to do here will just be to return index equals to, so this will just ensure that we have a unique groups dot index of group. Okay, group index of group. Okay, so let's see what the unique groups gives us now. So we know that this is what we've got. So you alert. So JSON.stringify, I've explained this earlier, is to convert the object into, because if you just alert it, what you see would be an object. All right, so we won't see, just to show that. All right, so if we go there like this, you see what we're seeing. 1 to 2. So we are not seeing anything. We're not seeing anything, and that's because this guy is not stringified. Okay, so we're just going to go there and stringify it. So this should be group though. This should be group. So if we do it like this, you see what we got. So we have 1, 2. Of course, because it's string. Sorry, this is already string. So there may not be a need to strings. Okay, is an array of string, of course, so it shows up, unlike where we have objects. Okay, so I may even not need that JSON to stringify. So we'll see now that we have the 1, 2, which is now unique elements within the array, right? Unique element within the array. Okay, so our next job would then to say, okay, just return it. Instead of alerting it, return it to whoever cares and needs it. So we say return unique groups. All right, so this returns unique groups. So the next thing we are then going to do is to use what is returned and use it to construct elements that is passed into. So this is becoming pretty large, so I would want us to make this cleaner. This render users, I want us to make it cleaner. But first, let's ensure that everything works, and before we make it clean. So let's say we take this out now, since we don't need them. So what we want to pass is the unique group that we extracted from the users list in the DOM. Okay, so that's what we want. So what we want is to extract these things and pass it in here. All right, so to do that, we just go straight into here, and let's say that we have here you have users box, and so let's group option be equals to, so that we have the first level that we are going to do this thing on. So we say let's group option be equals to this, select new. So here we say filtered by groups. Okay, so we have that here. We're declaring this globally, but we could have it declared inside this render as well, if we're not using it anywhere else. All right, so like I said, we're going to make this cleaner a bit, just in a bit now. So let's the filter option group options. It's different from this ones. I call this one group option, and then this one I want it to be group options, which will be document dot get element by ID, and I'm passing the ID here. the ID of that, select this one here. We call it user group. All right, so we're just going to pass that into it. So that's effectively, targets that. So the next thing we are then going to do will be to say that so even these guys that because they are constant, we are not reassigning to them the appropriate distance. So now this is the third video. We can begin to make things a bit more efficient. So we have const, right? And then this guy as well. So let's say we have the extracted group to be equals to extract group. This guy here returns returns that extracted group in there. So the next thing we're now going to do is to perform the same thing that we did with that. So we have extracted group for each element in it. So we have group, okay. So now don't forget that we have up here the group option that we initialize there. So we are just going to continue the assignment there. So the group option plus equals to just to concatenate, and then we have here the option. The value will just be equals to the group direct like that, since the group is what we have in there is string. All right, so we have this guy is going to be just the group, which is 1, 2, or 3. Okay, so and here is just a group, because we don't want to say we get group and then group. Okay, so we have that, and then we have option, and then we have this closed, right? We have this closed. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do from here is to ensure that we close our this guy, and then now the group options, we would dot inner HTML will be equals to the group option, right here, this one here. So that should effectively extract the group from there and populate it to the to that drop down. So all things being equal, so this, check that type error, extracted with for each is not a function. So let's see what this is. So let's check that. All right, so there's a typo here. We have this as extracted group, and here we are calling extra group. So this should be the stuff. So all things being equal, aha. So we have group 1, group 2, right here. Group 1, group 2. So if we had new user, it's still group 1, group 2, we have Ngozi, we have group 3 now. You can see 3 automatically because we have someone in group 3, like that. So we can also sort so that we ensure that that guy is always in that order. So Olayinka, so we have everything in place like that. So our next task will be when we say group 1, we just see only the people in group 1. But like I said, it will be good to have this guy cleaned up because it's getting dirty. The render user, we are doing a lot in there, and this is going against a principle of single responsibility. So what we're going to do will be to extract things off a little bit, starting from the top. We want to instead of saying this is so the actual render user, we can change this guy to render so let's rename that to, where's that guy again, rename symbol. Yeah, so let's rename that to render UI, render interface, or render UI. Okay, so I did that so that because we reference it in a number of places, so that's automatically do that. So the next thing I want to then do is to then write the actual render user function, which only renders users alone. So let's say we have here function render users, so that we put only the function that is talking about user rendering, which is this in there, so let's say here we have this guy here. Okay, this is render users. Of course these guys will leave because this is the select option, which is for this one. Okay, so render user, so in place of all of that, we just come and put render users here, which is cleaner. And then the next thing is to render new users, right? To render new users. So let me cut this out as well and have that function, say function, let's say render new users, just in case even any of those needed to be, we need to call it anywhere, and we, they are reusable that way. So we have it like this, and then this guy, the new users option that we're using here, and it's not for this guy, that guy doesn't need it, it's this that needs it, the new user option right there. So in place of that, here is true, we'll just put render new users. We have not done anything new, we are just being organized now, organizing the code so that new users can be used independently, or any of them can be used independently, rather than us boxing every them, and each time we need to call one, we have to call all. So we have the last one is the extracted groups. So here, let's say we have function, look at that function, render user groups. Okay, and excuse me, here we have this. All right, so similarly this guy here, the group option is not for this guy, is for this guy here. Okay, so you can write your comments appropriately. Alt Shift 5, so I have things formatted properly. Now, so extracted group, extract groups, so this. Okay, so render users, render new users, and render users group right here. So if I have this placed in here now, so it's cleaner. So this is equivalent to what we were calling render interface. What we've been calling render user is now render interface, but this one only renders the existing users. This one renders the users, and then this one here render this thing. So even this render user, we could call it existing users instead of having it as, so that it flows with this tone as well, since all of them are users. So you can also rename that render existing users, like that. So that works. Existing users, new users, everything is rendered in the interface, user interface. So all things being equal, nothing changed, you know, everything still as it was. Okay, everything still works as it was, but then the code is a bit better, you know, in terms of organization. So of course you can increase the distance by comments, and of course your doc block. For instance, if you want to put doc block on this one, you may come here and put this doc block like this, and then where you tell us what this function is about, what it's doing, what it's not doing, and all of that. Okay, what this function is about, what it's doing, and what it's not doing. And anybody that needs to call the functions will see the description of what the function is about. For instance, if I say this returns renders users group. Okay, so you will go see the function that's where it is called. You'll see a description of that in there. Okay, so that's essentially what we've done, just to getting organized. I removed the doc block because I don't want to create confusion and introduce what is not. So the next thing would be, like I said, have that guy here. So we're going to key into on change, the change event, just like we did for this other guy here, just like we did for the other select this thing here, just like this one. So on the change events, where is that guy again? All right, so here this is the select of this. So on change, says select filter by group. So on change, we just call that filter by group right in there. Okay, so remember how we did that? In fact, you can try it yourself, how we did the selected option. Okay, so you can just go ahead and write it without, just pause this video for a second and try to write it yourself. Okay, and then if you miss it, then you can, you know, play the video and see how we did it. All right, so now I'm just going to say function, what do we call that guy? Get users group. The on change events there, we assigned filter group, filter by group to it. So here I just have filter by group, and then I'm going to say let selected group to be equals to the users group. Okay, so where is the right here, this is where we are getting this thing, the users group from. So here we have these options that we declared it within the DOM. The code is getting much, and that's why. So here we have what we've declared within these options here, the group options. Okay, so the group options, that's the name of that's the how we targeted. Remember here we targeted this guy here. So if we have that, this dot option, which returns all the options, okay, and then the extracted groups, what do we call that, extract group. So this would always give us our group, right, the group that we have. Okay, so this guy here is the groups, extracted groups. So let me give it an S, extracted groups. Okay, dot selected index dot value. So because that's an array, we just pass in the index and pass in the value, nothing special. Okay, and here we can return selected value. Return selected value. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do will be these filters, and then now we would then, this should actually be get selected group. All right, and then we write another function that says filter group, because this one is just selecting, is not really filtering, so it just helps us to get what the user has selected, just like we did for the other one. Okay, so here I say let selected be equals to the function that we wrote here, which returns the selected value. Okay, get selected value, selected group, right in there. So that guy gets selected index first, and then so the next thing we are doing would be to just filter our users. So we say users dot, so in the other instance we were adding anyone that is selected, we are adding it, but this time around we want to filter the user. So user dot filter users or user such that, or so we can just, since we are using one line now, so I can just do like this. Let's use one line now. User dot group equal to selected. Users of group equals to selected. Okay, so this here would give me that will give us the, so now let's say users equals to that, because this is going to create a new array just like I explained earlier. So we pass in the users again, then here we'll render the interface, right? So here we are rendering the whole interface. There's performance problem there though. We can just render only this, re-rendering this. We are not re-rendering every other thing, just this part here. Now what we've been able to do with this our code segregation here is that we've had this, all of them separate, you know, and then but also we combine them here. So but we can call individually. So let's say we just want to render these ones alone, or we want to render, you know, them individually alone. Okay, so but right here I just call render interface, which effectively call everybody and, you know, render them again. So let's see, all things being equal, we should have this work. So here let me add more users. So we have this thing like that. So group 1, group 2, as we have like that. So filter by group 1. So this should change. So checking that this should be group options, not extracted group right here. This should be group options. Okay, and yeah, so if we look at it, there's an error in the console. So if we look at this now, what is being equal, we should have that. So selected value is not defined. So here again, so we are returning selected value, and then we are not so this is selected and this guy is not even needed. All right, so if you look at it, all things being equal, now filter by this, only person in group 1, you know, answered. So and you can see this automatically also changes to group 1. So this reduces. So let's say we have that Ngozi is also added. As we are adding it, this is increasing. We have that. So what you're building is an actual system, you know, and no refresh. So we say group 1, only guys in group 1 shows up. We say group 2, only, you know, like that. So what have you done? You've been able to build an interactive system using the basic things that you have. And I want to encourage you to sort this, because you can see that it's not sorted. You sort it before rendering it. Here it looks okay, but by the time we have a user that is in group 2, so let's say here we refresh and we have everything again. So if we say only group, if we had a new user now, let's say Kemi, so if you look at this now, we are having 3, 1, 2, which doesn't, you know, look good. So if we sort the array before you pass it in here, you know, it gets everything renders as it should, and you can see your search still works, everything still work as they work, everything work together as a system. You build the components separately and everything works together as a, so if you like it, If you enjoy it, don't forget to like it. Thank you.